Joining me now, we have Michael Hardaway, former communications director to Congressman Hakeem Jeffries, and Brendan Buck, MSNBC political analyst and former press secretary to House Speaker, former House Speaker, that is, of course, John Boehner. Welcome, guys. So, Michael, the Pentagon accepted that anonymous $130 million donation to help pay troops during the shutdown. There is, you're shaking your head, but there is, of course, reporting by the New York Times that it is the heir to the Carnegie Mellon fortune, let's say. It's just a small portion of the $7.5 billion needed to pay service members and cover benefits every 2 weeks. So is this an issue? And again, I know you're shaking your head, but if so, why?
This isn't a school bake sale. You can't just say, I'm going to give the government money to pay for a thing that I want. Now, I think the troops and all government employees should get paid, which is why Democrats tried to pass a bill to pay all government employees for this shutdown, and Republicans killed that bill. It is problematic if you have a rich person who, for some reason, has decided to give money to the government. I don't believe there's any such thing as free lunch, and so I would ask myself, why is this happening? I would then also say the president should pull the leaders in the House and the Senate together of both parties and say, let's get a deal done, instead of taking these international trips and playing golf every week.
Is it, Brendan, a sign that the president feels some pressure to end the shutdown and make sure these people are paid? Or is it more a matter of, you want to give me some money? Sure, I'll take it.
Well, first of all, I'll tip my cap to this gentleman. Love of the troops is one thing, but spending $130 million is another. Yeah, I mean, this is no way to run a government. I think this is just a gentleman who hopefully should be getting some better advice. I mean, the troops are going to get paid. This is not enough to fund the troops for any extended period of time or even for one paycheck. I think this is a bit of a distraction. Look, we're going to have to open up the government soon. Like, we can talk about the votes the Democrats put up. At some point, this is not sustainable, and we can't rely on benevolent billionaires to try to keep our government afloat. The pain is going to continue to mount, and the money that people can move around is not going to last forever. So I understand why we're talking about Thanksgiving. I think that's frankly absurd. At some point, both sides need to realize, like, what you're doing is not working. Democrats, you're not getting Republicans to give what you want. Republicans, you're not getting Democrats to fold. So I think somebody needs to come to the table and maybe start having some conversations, because this stalemate is getting us absolutely nowhere.
Yeah, absolutely. It would be absurd to go to Thanksgiving, not to mention very painful for families. So, Michael, the Trump administration says the DOJ will monitor polling sites in California and New Jersey ahead of the elections on November 4th. Why?
I think Republicans love voter suppression. Now, there's a little bit of hyperbole there, but my point here is that they seem to be interesting enough targeting heavily Hispanic areas, which seems to be voter intimidation in some way. There's no evidence, and there's been no evidence put forth that this is necessary. It's my understanding that the Republican Party in each state has asked for this to happen, but they failed to actually put forth evidence showing that this was necessary. And so, look, we should be of the mind that every eligible voter should vote in this country in their elections. And so, from my view, this voter suppression is problematic for that reason, notwithstanding whatever party it's for.
Well, Brendan, the chair of the California Republican Party told the Justice Department there had been reports of irregularities in some counties. But how can there be irregularities already? I mean, what kind of irregularities is he talking about?
I don't know. That's common for both parties to say that. It's just some jockeying that both parties do. They throw out these things to make people, have grounds for potential lawsuits later on. I think we, at this point, should be a little more careful with how we talk about this. Is this voter suppression? I mean, come on. The DOJ comes in and has monitors all the time. In the midterms, I think they had monitors in like half the states in the country. They had a whole division that does this. So just because somebody says, hey, I'm under an election does not mean it's had, I think, a lot of loose language about how our system works and stolen elections and things like that. I think we need to be a little more careful about how we discuss what this is. If they show up and they start really and not letting people vote, sure. But let's not cast doubt on our democracy so flippantly.
Does that extend to the head of the California Republican Party, though, who's talking about the irregularities again for this election?
I could cite you. I could pull up countless examples of parties on both sides who, before an election, will cite irregularities. They do it all the time. It's all just sort of jockeying. It very rarely has any impact on anything. It's just sort of politics these days. And that's very different than saying that somehow the DOJ is going to come in and try to change the outcome of an election by keeping people away from the polls who otherwise should be able to vote.
Okay, guys, I'll ask both of you to stay with me this hour because we're going to talk a bit later on about the ballooning cost of family health insurance and if the lack of usual deal makers on the Hill is hindering a shutdown solution, something you both have just addressed, particularly you. Okay, it's not a done deal, though. Why there's a new push for early voting in New York City today.